And I think I'm live. Looks like everything is set up and rolling already. And hello to Amanda and hello to Dawn. And I am not quite sure what to do with myself because everything seems to be functional. Ah, Dawn, yes. Well, I mean, mowing kind of sucks anyway, but ouch. Take it easy if you can. I know you probably can't, but, and I feel that. It's kind of nice because the place that I'm in right now, I have this nice feeling of I'm moving, I'm making progress, but I'm not feeling rushed, and I'm basically just kind of feeling relaxed and content with life, um, which is nice. Weird, but nice. Hello, Doug. Oh, yeah, no, you don't want the city getting on your case about mowing. They charge ridiculous amounts because, well, it's not just that they're going to mow, it's that they're going to punish you for not having taken care of it yourself. I wish my kid was close enough I'd toss him your way and he could come mow for you. Hello, Alan. Uh, he's actually being good right now. He's been helping a friend who's doing some major reorganization, and he's also working 4 days a week. So that's been, as he said today, got up this morning and he's puttering around the house and he came to talk to me while I was actually still working this morning. And he's like, I don't know how I've managed to lose so much weight. I'm not dieting. And I'm like, but you're working and you're working hard. And he's been doing a lot of work outside and he's been walking because it's not quite a mile, I don't think, to his work. But he walks there every morning. Um, and then he walks back more often than not, even though it's hot. And he works outside of he works at a fast food joint. So he's been working outside. He does things like window cleaning and um, I guess they have to weed, which led to some confusion because neither he nor the other guy know anything about weeding. um, I've tried, really, I have, but Texas, the weeds are different. Hello, hello. Um, Not sure who needs the insurance. Was that for the mowing, Dawn? But anyhow, so yeah, I actually had some topics picked out because, as you may have seen from the thumbnail, I have a nice fresh loaf of bread sitting on the counter, and I was thinking about it. It's one of those things that I make when I'm in the mood. And hey, Julie, um, I was in the mood to make bread earlier today, quite a bit earlier today, actually. I started it, wandered off, left it there, came back, added more flour, and basically did an all day loaf of French bread. So, French bread is the most minimalist style of bread. Your ingredients should be water, flour, salt, and yeast, and that's it. Um, and most other breads require other things too. And I have gotten in a bad habit of not doing breads the way I used to do breads. And there's kind of a break in my life where I used to do bread that I would throw all kinds of things into nuts and seeds and herbs and cheese and all kinds of things in my bread. Well, then I got together with somebody who liked his bread white. That's it. Nothing else. And he was perfectly happy for me to make bread as long as I didn't put anything in the bread. So I got completely out of the habit of being adventurous and exploring with my breads. And this is one of those things where I occasionally sit and look back at the last 10 years and realize that, You get stuck doing things, and then it takes a really long time to even realize that you are stuck, much less that you probably should put some effort into getting unstuck. So the bread today is just your basic French bread, and we didn't even have it with dinner because Johan wanted to make chicken and waffles. So we made waffles. So there's no point in having bread with waffles. Of course, Johan's version of chicken and waffles is chicken nuggets and waffles because his sisters gave him a waffle maker for Christmas or his birthday a couple years back. So he loves this thing and he uses it whenever he can get an excuse to. He also likes his chicken and waffles with syrup, and I'm informed that I'm a heathen because I do not. I don't like syrup with my chicken. No. So I had spicy mayonnaise and pickles with my chicken and waffles. It's the bread will get eaten probably while it's still warm because it's not been out of the oven that long, with butter and maybe some jam on it as kind of a dessert here, I think. In fact, I'm watching my husband come back in from having been sitting outside reading, and I suspect that's where he's headed next. I should remind him not to cut anything with sharp on the silpat. Um, you don't have a sufficient bowl. Hmm. Dang, damn it, I wish I lived closer to some people. Because I have a bowl. A bowl. Which I actually didn't use for this at all. Bread, I tend to make the bread with the stand mixer, make the dough whip with the stand mixer. And in this case, I just grabbed a handy shallow bowl to toss the bread dough in with a little oil so it could rise. And it wasn't a particularly big bowl, but I'm doing most of my kneading not in a bowl, but with the stand mixer. So, and Stanford is saying hello. Um, yes, I love my silpats. Um, the I don't know how many I've got now. Several. It started out with two, and now there are several. Kitchen math, kind of like Koala's chicken math. Although I think she's changed her name. Not that I see her here anyway, but regardless. Um, so yeah, the silpats are great. I use the silpat under the bread, and because we realized the other day we don't actually have any cornmeal. I have grits, which probably would work on a pan to cook bread on, but they might not be such good eats when they cooked into the bread and you wind up eating them later. Very gritty. um, so I have self-rising cornmeal, which is not at all the same thing because it's about half and half flour and cornmeal, I believe, for making cornbread. I don't know why the dog's fussy, but the dog is fussy. I have no actual cornmeal in the house. Oh, I have masa harina for making tamales or tortillas, but that's a very fine grind, so it doesn't work well for powdering your bread pan. It's on the list. These are these weird little things. We were having this conversation today about when we moved a lot of food with us. Probably shouldn't have, but I don't know. It wasn't perishable, so toss it in boxes. It came along. No point in wasting it. Well, with a Dutch oven bread, Dawn, you can do a no knead bread. Let's look for some recipes for that and do up something on the blog, because I definitely have Dutch ovens around here. So one of the things that I'm realizing is that I'll think we have something like maple syrup today with the waffles. I thought I had a bottle of real maple syrup, but I don't. And it's hard to tell whether I had a bottle a year ago and that's what I'm thinking of, or I had a bottle more recently and it's been used.
I think it was in Ohio.
I'm pretty sure that I had it at the apartment in Dallas. But I could be wrong. Because as my son has pointed out, I have the memory of a goldfish.
Oh, and the
Yeah.
dog's upset and agitation.
She wanted a treat.
She'd been outside. She thought she deserved a treat.
I haven't given her a treat today, so she might have deserved a treat. She's a good girl. She spends an awful lot of her time playing dog rug and being just like flat sleeping on the floor. Um, I did get a cute blurry picture of her because I tried to get real down real low. She was on the floor laying down, and as soon as she realized that I was getting down on the floor with her, she got all happy and got up to come over and say hi and get pets. And so the photo I got was all nose and fuzzy nose at that. Pantry inventory is hard. It's a constantly moving target, especially when you have multiple people cooking in the house. And I'm actually really happy because last night's dinner, we actually had company, and Sanford did the whole dinner. Johan and I took care of cleanup, so you didn't have to do that because if you cleaned, having to cook too is not nice. And Johan did dinner, well, okay, most of dinner tonight. I made the waffle batter, but he took care of the rest of it. But I mean, other than our evening meal, which we usually take together, the meals during the day we don't usually take together. So I don't even know um, half the time what's been eaten or what hasn't. I will say that I manage almost all of the grocery shopping, so I at least know what's coming in, usually. So, oh, I'm sure they did. They couldn't be with you. It's not safe for them to be with you while you're mowing. Dogs are not that smart about mowers. Also, mowers can throw rocks, and that's really not good. Um, Although mowers can also decapitate snakes and frogs, and I'm sure dogs would find that a treat. But experiences with riding mowers in Ohio, very wet grass harbors lots of frogs. Um, you know, I mean, they make those big backpacks that you can put a dog into. I saw a video the other day of someone strapping this huge floofy white dog into a into a backpack. That's actually a really good idea, Stephen. And have uh, I have actually done that when I'm shopping stores like Aldi, where I know the layout. Although it's weird, the Aldi here in Texas is laid out really differently than the Aldi in Ohio was. I mean, just right off the bat, when you go in, you're not going like straight into the store. You go in and you go off and you go around the store the backwards of what I'm used to. So it's like you're moving clockwise around the store, and I'm used to moving counterclockwise. It freaks me out. It's one of those adult things that kids probably just don't get, which is you're used to how the market is, and if they rearrange it for some reason, it throws you off badly. Um, yeah, farm girl, that's probably way too much. But yeah, no, I have definitely taken to making lists in order of departments. Um, and I have actually done lists for stores that were organized by how the store was laid out if I knew the store well enough. The current app that I use for grocery lists allows me to drop different items into different categories. Although if you give it something unknown and it prompts you, yes, our groceries is also what I use. And But if you give it something unknown and it prompts you to pick a category, you kind of have to be careful you don't fat finger, because I now have black expo marker categorized as pasta. Ah, there you are. I couldn't remember if you changed your name for a short time or a long time. So I was talking about koala and chicken math earlier, but now it's stiffers. Um, Right, it drives me crazy when the grocery store changes up where everything is, and I actually think sometimes they do it on purpose. Um, no, no, Dawn Differs changed it on purpose because, well, koala, and koalas are one of on the evil list. At least it wasn't dolphin though. I think grocery stores sometimes change their layout on purpose because it breaks you and you kind of have to go through. You can't go through as quickly, and there is bread. It's just not with me because it's still quite warm and it would burn me. Oh yes, I know I could edit the category on our groceries. I just haven't because it amused me. I I don't know. You take those small things in life that make you laugh, right? Um, it's like my son is highly, highly indignant because I finally insisted on changing out the shower curtain he had put up when he moved down here. He put up his shower curtain because at the apartment we had two, his and the grown-ups bathroom. And in the grown-ups bathroom in the apartment, I had this nice one that was the moon against dark blue night sky. It was very pretty. Um, and so when we came down here, he put up his just plain, straightforward, dark blue um, shower curtain. Well, Sanford, and I'm not sure why, mind you, but Sanford had decided that he wanted very, very specific art on a shower curtain. And the thing about that is that you can find anything on Amazon. Dip cups, built-in dip cups. I mean, I don't even have to guess why a child would squeeze ketchup into a car cup holder. And when you said that you found the missing barbecue sauce, I went, "Ooh, because I've done that." So, anyhow, also the dip cup thing, when they get to be teenagers, it's not the car cup holder anymore, but they will use stuff as dip cups and then let it dry on. And let me tell you that desiccated ketchup does not come off easily. I'm going to ignore the chat for a minute. Anyhow, so Sanford challenged me with the shower curtain for the new house. And I don't remember exactly the original conversation because it took place a few months before we actually moved in, and I was at the time making a wish list on Amazon to get stuff lined up that I knew we were going to need in the new house, and one of those was a shower curtain. So I put the shower curtain on the wish list, and then just recently I bought the shower curtain. And then I had an argument with my son because my son did not approve of the idea of having a shower curtain that depicts a cowboy cat wielding a Winchester and riding a dinosaur. It's kind of awesome, actually. I was expecting a cheaply printed on plastic shower curtain, and it's not. It's printed on this nylon fat woven fabric. It's actually really nice. It'll last a long time. The small joys of parenting, driving your children crazy. Oh, see, now there's all these I don't know whose art this is, but honestly, I hope they're getting royalties from these because they're awesome. It was a lot of fun to go through and find this absolutely ridiculous shower curtain that hit, I think, almost everything Sanford was looking for. Only, I'm not sure he originally wanted it to be riding a dinosaur. I think he may have said originally that it should be riding a unicorn, which I couldn't find. But on the other hand, maybe I should make the art for it. Oh, I don't know. A cowboy on a unicorn. That feels like I'm kind of crossing the streams. Gotta think about that one.
It's a cat. They always cross the stream.
Yes, yes. So the bread conversation with myself, because really that's what it was me thinking about bread and cooking and the new kitchen, which is really facilitating the fact that back to um, I'm back to the fact that I can cook, I want to cook, and I'm back to feeling joy in cooking, which is why I've started food blogging again. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going to blog my way through the 99 ways to cook eggs. It's a list I made a couple of years back because we were having a conversation about um, feeding yourself inexpensively and also just the sheer flexibility of eggs in particular. So I had gone through both just off the top of my head, and then I went through a stack of cookbooks, um, and I created this list of 99 ways to cook eggs. And I had some recipes I'd already done on the blog that I could immediately link into that list. And I had always intended um, to go back and create recipes for a lot of things. Now, I'm not going to do recipes for boiled eggs um, because that's a technique thing, that's a timing thing. Um, Don, that is an awesome and epic thought. Ooh, Stephen, that's an excellent idea. Toad in the hole is indeed on the list, and although I call mine frog in the hole um, for doing an egg cooked in bread. Toad in the hole, I call Yorkshire pudding with sausages in it because they look like little toads in the hole because of how the Yorkshire pudding shrinks away from them. I could be wrong on the terminology, absolutely, because they're one of those odd little British things. It's like I had to look up. Okay, now my brain isn't even going there. Oh yeah, Scotch woodcock is the one that I was planning to make up probably tomorrow morning and blog next week ish. Because see, that's the thing is I cook frequently enough that you all don't want to see recipes on the blog 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, it's too much of a good thing, I think. Maybe, maybe not. But the Scotch woodcock I had to look up because I was thinking Scotch eggs when I first put it on the list, but that's not what it is at all. I actually had a conversation because Sanford doesn't like fish, and Scotch woodcock is a soft scrambled egg served on toast with strips of anchovies. And it turns out that anchovies, because they're such little salt bombs, that he likes just for the salt, which is part of the reason I like anchovies too. Um, Good enough, Stephen. I didn't realize there was an American and a British. I think when I originally started cooking those, it may have been from Wind in the Willows, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So, Don, I actually like anchovies. I also like kippered herring, which is so good. Something about spooky fish. So, no, Sanford is not fond of fish. He will eat fish, but in general, he will take a pass on it. And there's a few things that he's fine with. He's okay with salmon in most things, and he doesn't have a problem with shrimp. But most fish just leaves him cold, and I will either make something else for him because he'll eat it to be polite and have show a good example for the kids, but I don't see any point in torturing him if I can easily fix something else for him. Or I can order fish when I'm out at a restaurant and not inflict that on him. This is also part of why I very, very rarely cook liver and onions at home because nobody but me likes it and the smell will drive them from the house. I understand being picky with fish, and I think that there's some fish that you definitely have to be really careful with seasoning and cooking, or you're going to get kind of a muddy mess. Um, I mean, I know tilapia is not fantastic, but if you do it right, it can be okay. And by do it right, I mean lots and lots of seasonings. Um, and I mean, the thing with the eggs is that even though they are more expensive than usual right now, they're still cheaper than meat. And I feel like putting a bunch of recipes up on the blog that are interesting and adventurous ways to cook inexpensively might be useful. So I'm gonna have some fun with well, that would do it. Oh, you actually would probably like the recipe that I did for Colonel Prattman's Eat This Will You Read That. It is a white fish with garlic, um, Corvino con al ajillo. Um, and it's a Panamanian thing, and oh my gosh, it's garlicky and it's so good. Um, yeah, I know a lot of people don't like liver. I actually think that in my case, it's because I'm prone to anemia. So when I start to crave liver, Braunschweiger, that kind of thing, I'm like, time to eat the dark green leafies, even if I can't get liver because the iron needs replenishing. And I'm one of those people that can't tolerate iron supplements. They upset my stomach awful. So I have to get my iron in dietary. But I mean, another good reason to cook with cast iron. So, but that's one of the things about being happy with the kitchen is I have full access to all my cast iron, and it's really easy to grab it. Well, the pot rack is nice because my little ADHD brain, if it's out of sight in a cupboard, I forget it exists. Like just now, I realized that I am storing something for one of my daughters and she actually wants me to use it. And I put it in a tall cupboard and I forgot it existed, so I need to pull that out. I have a terracotta bread thing, baker. I she bought it and couldn't get it home with her, so she left it with me and asked me to figure out how to use it so then I could teach her how to use it, which is very sweet. I'm very fond of the fact that she wanted to do it that way, but I'm going to have to look it up because I've never done that. That's good, Dawn. It's one of those things of everybody likes different things, and with my kids, I didn't always cater to their tastes because when they were younger, especially, and now they got really picky when they were in their teenagers, but when they were little, I insisted that they had to try stuff, and they were actually pretty adventurous eaters when they were small. That's a good question, Stephen. I know that I can get chicken quarters, legs and thighs, for me. Depends on where, but 50 cents to 90 cents a pound is where I've seen if I've if I'm looking and catching them on sale, and so even with the bone in there, that's probably cheaper than eggs, because eggs here are about $1.80 a dozen right now, and that has come down. It went way up. It was almost $2.50 for a dozen for a while, and I think the last time I bought eggs, I bought a box of 60 eggs for just under $10. Right, and that's the other thing is, I mean, we could talk about cost per ounce, but the actual protein count is going to be different. Yep, price per meal is a good way to figure it too. Um, differs. I have never been able to get the Instant Pot to work for my rice. I actually use a rice cooker for my rice. When I've tried to do rice in the Instant Pot, it came out soggy, and I may be doing it wrong, so I don't know. Um, And I wish that I could keep chickens on one hand, and on the other hand, I'd like to be able to travel. So I'm glad I don't have chickens. Oh no, I mean, eggs in the diet are great, but you want variety, and that's part of the reason that I'm not going to just slam the blog with egg recipes, because we aren't going to have eggs every single day. That might be what I'm doing wrong, differs, because I think when I do basmati, it's 1 cup rice to 1.5 cups water, and I want to say my sticky rice is about the same ratio. And the brown basmati that I have is, I think, 1 cup to 2 cups. So I'm probably doing the ratios wrong. And as far as that goes, that's the other thing too, which is that you want to have as much diversity in your meals as you can manage, so you're not getting bored with eating the same thing all the time. And I say that, and there's also the fact that some consistency and routine in your meals will sometimes require you to be making the same things because they're easy and fast. Um, and I know that, like, today I worked until 9:30, and around 10 o'clock I was starving because I hadn't eaten anything. So I made um, a grilled cheese sandwich, just really quick and easy. And it was satisfying and carried me through almost until dinner time. So it was, it's one of those things. Now I don't do grilled cheese and tomato soup. I can't stand tomato soup. I won't even try. Tomato soup, tomato juice, can't do it. Um, Not sure to say the fat in the egg is healthier than the chicken fat. Um, yes, exactly. It is a different kind of fat. And yeah, Don, that's a good idea. It's teaching the next generation how to cook on a budget. And I know that I had this conversation with um, my daughter. They moved, they cut things tight, and then one of them had a job promise. She was supposed to transfer from one store to another, and her previous manager didn't do the paperwork, so she didn't have a job. Um, so she and I were having a very serious conversation about stretching the grocery dollar as far as possible. And I also put a little money in for her to have some grocery money. But the thing like rubber chicken, taking one chicken and making 3 meals out of it at least, those are important skills to have to be able to uh, survive if you don't. Um, I'm not sure I'd want to eat the eggshell differs. I know that if you um, break them up real small and feed them back to the chickens, it helps them maintain their shells with the calcium. Right, exactly. The rotisserie chickens, I think they run around $5 here. And we have found that the three of us will only go through about half of one. So then you have the leftover meat the next day that you can make chicken salad with. You can make a sandwich with it. You can make casserole with it because pasta is usually pretty damn cheap. And then finally, what you do is you take that carcass with what's left on it and make stock and make that into soup. And if you let that carcass simmer in an instant pot where it's not going to boil, you'll get a nice, clear, strong stock. The longer it goes, the more you're actually getting for. See, now I'd never heard about using an eggshell supplement for people, but yeah, no, that's this is new. See, I learned things. Yes, so stock can be used to make rice. You can do a really nice Spanish rice or Mexican rice that way. You can do a risotto, and it's great for adding flavor. Um, I will often add seasonings to my rice anyway, even if I'm making it with water to give it some flavor. It really depends on what I'm going to do with the rice and what I'm going to do with the leftover rice. Because for me, leftover rice can go either sweet or savory. I haven't made a rice pudding in ages. That might be a thing. Also, a way to use eggs. Not sure how Sanford feels about rice pudding. And you probably can't see because of his elbow, but he's got headphones on, so he can't hear what I'm saying. He's over there playing a game, I think. Um, right, and there are a lot of ways that you can make the grocery budget stretch. And with the way the economy is going, we're going to have to start making the grocery budget stretch. I mean, I felt a little bad because last weekend I took the kid to Sam's and spent more money than probably should have. But most of that was meat, okay, and potatoes. But my pantry is fairly well stocked. My freezers are completely full, and we'll be okay for quite a while. I'm not going to have to do another big grocery run this weekend. We'll do minimalist grocery run this weekend to replace milk and bread, but that's it. And that's the other thing too. We were talking about the grocery app, planning ahead before you go to the store, making your menu up, having a list, sticking to the list. Now, I also say that you should probably build in just a little cushion to buy a little treat, or build in a cushion deliberately to be able to buy things on sale to stock up that you know will will last and you'll be able to get to them. Which the thing for me is I prefer fresh veggies to canned. Um, Frozen is kind of my compromise because I'm not always good about getting around to cooking the fresh veggies in time. Depends. I bought a thing of peaches and they dried out. It was the strangest thing. They just kind of shriveled up. Weird. Um, yes, you do. There are other ways to get calcium too, but that's probably not a bad idea, Differs. Um, so things like being able to make your own bread or pancakes. Flour is cheap. Eggs are cheap. Potatoes are cheap, as Don just pointed out. Pasta is cheap. And those are all really high carb and can be really fattening. So if you are going to have to eat like that, you really need to be conscious of making sure that you are not overdoing your portions and that you are exercising at the same time. This is something that I'm being acutely Stephen, thank you for doing that research. That is awesome. Um, yeah, Don, I have been stocking up on just general oil recently for whatever reason. So I don't know why. I can't. It wasn't even that I caught something on sale. I just happened to walk by and look down, and they had the big jug for cheap, and I was grabbed that. But oil is one of those things that you kind of want to have good stock in. Lard is another good option, especially butter right now is really expensive. So I have been using lard in places where I would maybe normally use butter. And I'm not going to miss the butter flavor for whatever reason. So, but the fats are similar in action. And I always use lard and pie crust. But there's so many ways that I don't think a lot of people think about. In fact, I know they don't because I remember what the stores looked like when the COVID lockdown was coming, um, and what was sold out and what wasn't, and it was just kind of an odd mixture of everything that was easy to fix was gone, and but also flour was gone, and there's a couple other things that were like baking it. Oh, beans, dry beans were gone because that was the people that were like, okay, holy crud, no idea how long they're going to lock us in our homes. Um, yeah, I keep like a 3 pound bucket of lard in my baking cabinet. Powdered milk is fantastic for baking, and I actually should probably go ahead and get powdered milk. I haven't had any in quite a while, but I think I want to look for the really silky fine stuff, not the crumbly stuff that you usually get in grocery stores, because that stuff will draw moisture. And the silky fine stuff, I think if I get that, generally it's a higher proportion. You put less in water to mix it up than you do with the crumbly stuff. I don't know what the difference is in processing. I know the crumbly stuff goes into water easier, but since 9 times out of 10 I'm not reconstituting the milk because it's nasty. Um, if you have to mix up milk, powdered milk, you will find that adding a tablespoon of brown sugar to a gallon of powdered milk will make it much easier to convince the children to drink it. That would be my mother's trick. Yeah, baking is it's powdered milk is the bomb for putting it in baking. Um, so I should probably add that to the list too. Kind of like cornmeal. See, here's where the my son telling me earlier today that I have the memory of a goldfish comes in because I am going to write this down before I forget it. And this is also where I'm going to come back to my. Well, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to talk about feral housewives because I had to kind of explain it on my Facebook post. Um, there's a meme floating around of the someone talking about how they were thinking about the concept of domestic housewife and how that implied the existence of a feral housewife. And I laughed at it the first time I saw it and made a joke about having gone feral because I used to be a domestic housewife. I was the farm wife. Um, I cooked everything from scratch. I was at home taking care of the kids, raising the kids. I managed the farm for my dad. Um, and there are times I actually kind of miss that of the whole thing of being able to be at home, meeting all my family's needs was very, very satisfying for me. And now I'm back to the point where I am at home all the time. However, I am not available all the time. So now I really feel like I have come around to realizing what a feral housewife is. Because I'm a housewife, but I can't be domesticated because I have to sit in front of my computer for several hours a day during the week. It's a bit of a conundrum sometimes because I have the temptation to, well, I'm here, I could do, but no, I need to sit here and actually do my work. And then the guys will come in and ask me for something or to do something, and I will be like, I can't right now. You're gonna have to figure that one out on your own. Kermit, yes, I can see that, and it's one of the lovely things about your lady wife. I don't know that I will ever be able to go back to being that domestic housewife, and I'm not sure I really want to either, because there's certainly an argument that by not letting um, anybody else in the house take over and do things, that that's not necessarily good for them, especially the kids. Although the argument can be made for husbands as well, that if you do everything for them, that's not good for them either. Um, how can they not have tortillas in the complete bread cookbook? That makes no sense. There are flatbreads in every culture. You just derailed me completely. Um, yeah, so it's actually good for the kids and husbands, to expect them to do things, and even ask them to do things for you. Although, to be fair, I'm saying this, but I have a lot of trouble internalizing that one. Naan isn't necessarily a tortilla. I know that I was a bit bummed the first time I made naan for Sanford, and Sanford looked down at it and went, "Oh, flatbread or fry bread." And I was like, "Oh."
I liked it. It would just,
It is yummy. And yes, it's a flatbread. But he looked at it and went, "Oh, fry bread," and I was like, "Oh, I thought I was making something special he hadn't had before." Tough to do. Well, I mean, Kermit, I'm very proud of you for doing dishes, and I'm also barefoot. You just can't see them because they're tucked under the desk at the moment. And I was barefoot in the kitchen earlier. I can tell you for certainty I'm not pregnant, nor am I going to be. Done that. All done with that. And Dawn, you have the right take on it. They do need to learn to do things for themselves. Um, if those of you that are in the book club discussion will be have been seeing that I've been reading through a book called The Coddling of the American Mind, which surprised me because I thought I knew what to expect with this book. I did not know what to expect with this book, and it's excellent. I highly recommend it. But one of the things that it's talking about is the fact that you have to allow children to withstand some. What was the metaphor he used? Right. If it's a candle, a breath of wind blows it out. But if it's a fire, then a breath of wind fans the flames and makes it go higher. Um, and I look up and see Differ's chat now of burning the house down. I'm sorry. That's not literally what I meant. But the the idea there is that if you don't want the children to be candles, you want them to be a strong fire, and the wind of adversity fans their flames. Um, and it's an excellent book. I'm getting a whole lot more out of it than I thought I was going to be, including stuff for the PTSD essay that I need to write to intro the next PTSD anthology. But it's also one of those things that because of my first marriage, I thought I was supposed to do everything. And now I'm coming out of it and realizing that, kind of like adding seeds to bread, I'm not supposed to do everything, and that by doing everything, I'm actually not helping. Um, and teaching my son how to cook, which I have done, and he's also taken what?
well, you're going to do everything. You wipe my butt for me.
No, absolutely not. There are times and places for extraordinary help, and sometimes you do have to do things like that.
I just thought I'd tease you about it because, well,
Uh-huh. Mm.
Kermit wouldn't expect any less of me. Yes, he would.
Well, on that note, I'm changing topics. Um, the interesting thing about having a kid that actually reads my stuff is that, in addition to Sanford being the first reader, I now occasionally, and I say occasionally, have an alpha reader. Is the perspective that the kid gives me, on the other hand, is not what I expect necessarily, although and I'm still trying to decide as a writer whether or not the kids' ideas of what makes a good story or not are something I should put a lot of weight behind. It's not that he can't critique a story. One of the things is that yes, absolutely with Elvis differs. Have you seen the controversy about Elvis and the licensing recently? Read Chris Catherine Rush's blog. It's yeah, anyhow, digressions. The kid's idea of story plots and my idea of story plots are wildly different. So he actually read my current work in progress. I've turned in the trailer park story. Very proud of myself because Hillbilly asked me for a story for the first trailer park anthology. I wasn't able to deliver it because my brain was off. And so I went back. I talked to him at Fantasy and was like, look, I'm sorry, man. I let you down. And he's like, it's fine. We're doing a second one. Send me a story. So I actually finished it, and that got delivered a couple of days ago. Um, and so I'm working on this really bizarre story that, if any of you read the prompt responses on my blog, you will have seen the opening bits of it. And it's turned into Lovecraftian science fiction. And not gonna, not gonna, not gonna comment. Not gonna comment. Um, and so I let my child read it, and his feedback was that he did not think that I should mention in a casual little foreshadowing line that anything so specific as the main character, worrying about bills from his twins' stay in the NICU. He's like, you can't put anything in that specific. Don't put that specific in there. The other thing he lost his mind on was my use of the word stanky in a slang dialogue thing. He's like, you can't use that word. That's an awful word. Don't use that word. Okay. How's the rest of the story? But um, I'm still cackling at the chat. Uh, oh no, Cedar's way too easy to derail. Differs. It's not going to be just you. I'm almost as bad as Ian's squirrels. I don't. Mine's look more like a ferret after a pixie stick. Um, yeah, which is also the problem with the writing. I will occasionally get into a story and then just write myself into, oh, that's bad. Yes, cedar rails. I have them. I'm not on them, but I have them. Ah, okay. Tanager. I actually have about 40,000 words written on Tanager's Flight, which is the next Tanager novel. I have not written anything on it in months. So what I'm doing right now with the Lovecraftian science fiction is getting myself back into the writing groove, and then I will hopefully be ready to read the Tanager part that I have and get my brain back wrapped around it, because as we've just seen, it's really easy to derail me, and getting myself back into a plot again when I'm a pantser um, is is really hard for me. And I find that even if I can get my head back into the story, it's not the same story it was when I started it. So then I have the problem of, I'll have a book that just has like an angle in it instead of going along like it should. All of a sudden it's crooked. And it's mm, I don't know sometimes. I worry about whether or not I can do this and do the stories the justice that I want to convey, because there's so many people that are much better writers than I am, and I look at what I do and I'm like, I I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to stop writing because I kind of have to write, but I also wonder sometimes if I'm doing it justice, and maybe I should be doing this differently. And I'm kind of just stuck on this story, and it's causing me to kind of doubt myself. You probably can't see it very well, but over my shoulder there is a whiteboard. It's a very large whiteboard, floor to ceiling, because it's a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of shower wall, shiny stuff. Um, and yesterday, when Johan and I were talking about my story, he told me that he follows this guy that does animations on, I think he follows him on YouTube, but he was showing me pictures that this guy takes. He does this board to track the progress on his projects. And the style of thing that he does, Johan drew on the board for me. I've got a picture of it I took somewhere. It's really sweet that he did this with me. He's trying to get me organized and give me little motivations to move along the projects through the process. Um, it's just, it's just that I wonder, um, kind of sometimes I wonder why. And I don't know. I mean, and part of it too is that today was royalty day. So I got paid twice, and there'll be another check coming because one of the anthologies I was in pays by check quarterly. And I was thinking about it, I was looking at it, and I'm like, I'm making, I forget what Larry's list, alphabet list was, but I'm at the level where you can pay a bill or two a month with the royalty income, which is really not anything to sneeze at. It's just that I always intended this to be my retirement plan, and I'm looking at it right now and going, well, we'd starve to death, even with all the grocery tips and tricks. But also on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just like, I'm looking at the momentum of people that I know, people that I'm in sort that I run in circles with, and they're doing fantastic stuff. And I'm like, I can't. I just, I don't know how, and I don't have time to learn, um, and I'm probably letting myself be too anxious over nothing. But yeah, this is why I get writer's block, because my brain just goes spiraling off into uh Don, I have seen you, and yes, your mother is probably right there. On the other hand, this is differs. She might be. Uh, oh, I will be more cheerful, and I have actually written today. I've been writing not every day, but at least 5 days a week. I've been writing. Um, that's the other thing I want to do is pull out my Julia Child's cookbook and do some cooking out of there. Um, oh, somebody out there said something about mango and sticky rice. Have you seen the no bake mango cheesecake recipe that Shadow Dancer gave me? It's on my blog. Check it out. It's perfect for summertime if you like mangoes, which it seems like I'm the only one in my family that does. So, yes. I know none of you are in range for Saturday dinner, but if you were, there will be a very boozy pineapple upside down cake for dessert, because my child decided he was going to make a recipe he'd seen on YouTube. A very simple recipe. It involved a fresh pineapple cut up, and immersed in dark rum for a couple of weeks now. So, yeah, that one's going to be interesting. But it'll be fun to make. And probably really, really tasty to eat. So, you can absolutely sleep on the couch, Stephen. No, I haven't done anything with agave really. I probably should when I start working back towards the low carb thing, which should happen soon, but I'm not sure it's going to. Anyhow, yes, boozy pineapple upside down cake. I will have a report on how that goes. And Don, I have to say that both boo and yay, because that means you're better and also no fun to have to go back to work. I also have an inflatable bed somewhere, I think. Actually, for that matter, I've got a whole queen size mattress out in the garage in a storage bag. That could get thrown down on a floor somewhere. There we go. All right, folks. On that note, I will see you all next week if I don't see you in person.